Welcome and thank you for joining us today for the New South Wales Small Business Innovation Research Program webinar. My name is Thomas and I'll be moderating today's webinar. I would like to begin by acknowledging today we meet on many Aboriginal lands. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land and we show our respect for elders past. Just some housekeeping before we start. Today's webinar is recorded and will be available on the New South Wales SBIR website in the coming days. If you would like to ask a question during the webinar, please type it into the Q&A box at the right-hand side of your screen. We will be answering as many of your questions as we can during the Q&A session, which is at the end following the presentation. If we do not have time to get to all the questions live during the webinar, we will answer any remaining questions and include the responses in the transcript available on the website. Please note that closed captions are also available. Click on the CC box at the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. I would now like to welcome Carlos Bucket from R&D New South Wales, who will give you an overview of the Small Business Research and Innovation Program, followed by Dr. Nicole Gallagher and Dr. Adam Roth from the Department of Planning, Industry and Environment to talk about the challenge. Carlos, I will now hand over to you.
Hi everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar. My name is Carlos Bucket. I'm a manager at the Office of the New South Wales Chief Scientist and Engineer, and I'll be running you through the detail of the SBIR program before we discuss the specific SBIR challenge statement for today's webinar. At the end of today's session, there will be an opportunity to ask questions about the SBIR program and the SBIR challenge. The New South Wales Small Business Innovation and Research Program is an initiative of the New South Wales Government that provides competitive grants to small and medium-sized enterprises to find and commercialise innovative solutions to well-defined problems for New South Wales Government agencies. The 2021 SBIR program will provide up to $12 million in grants to New South Wales SMEs to solve one of the 5 government challenges. The establishment of the SBIR program was recommended as a priority action of the Turning Ideas into Jobs, Accelerating Research and Development in New South Wales Action Plan. The action plan was developed by the Accelerating R&D in New South Wales Advisory Council, a group of leaders with experience in research, the innovation ecosystem, and government policy. The New South Wales SBIR program is modelled on similar successful Australian and international examples, including the Commonwealth Government's Business Research and Innovation Initiative, the SBIR program in the United States, and the Small Business Research and Initiative in the United Kingdom. The SBIR program is an important element of the New South Wales Government's approach to increase innovation and prosperity in New South Wales. Innovation generates the products and services crucial for future jobs and industries. Research and development undertaken in businesses and research organisations is a major source of innovation and should be supported for the whole community and the economy to thrive. The SBIR program has 2 main objectives. Number 1, to increase innovation in government by leveraging the capacity of New South Wales SMEs and R&D to solve government problems. And number 2, to increase economic development by driving jobs and industry growth and supporting the development of innovative products and services in New South Wales. There are 5 SBIR challenges for 2021. Proposed solutions must address one of the 5 challenges. Each challenge describes a current New South Wales Government agency problem requiring an innovative solution. For 2021, the 5 challenges are the connectivity challenge, to increase the strength and resilience of communications networks in regional and remote areas. The hyperlocal navigation challenge, to assist passengers with vision impairments to access public transport services. The Koala count challenge, to detect and quantify koala populations in New South Wales. The Personal Protective Equipment Challenge, to reduce waste associated with discarded PPE and sterile wrap. And the Water Purification Challenge, to reduce microplastic and other contamination in health facilities. Later in the seminar, we'll discuss today's challenge in more detail. The benefits for the SBIR program for participating SMEs include up to $1.1 million in grant funding to develop and commercialise a new technology or service. The opportunity to work with the New South Wales Government to pilot and test your solution. The potential for the New South Wales Government to contract you and procure your solution. And the opportunity, of course, to retain your intellectual property rights and the right to commercialise your solution and sell it in domestic and global markets. A successful SBIR program will also give the New South Wales Government access to innovative solutions to policy and service delivery challenges, insights into different problem-solving approaches through working directly with New South Wales SMEs. Our measures of success for the SBIR program are: number one, that more SMEs establish and grow their R&D activities and jobs in New South Wales. Two, that New South Wales SMEs translate more ideas into innovative products and services. And three, that the New South Wales Government agencies deliver better services to the New South Wales community by using these innovative solutions. I'll quickly run you through the timeline for the SBIR program. The SBIR program has 3 phases. Phase 1 is the feasibility study stage, where SMEs submit a proposal to solve one of the 5 SBIR program challenges. The proposals are assessed, with each successful applicant receiving a grant of up to $100,000 to conduct a feasibility study over a period of 3 months. Phase 2 is the proof of concept phase. Successful feasibility study grantees are invited to apply for the proof of concept phase. Applications are assessed, and each successful proof of concept grantee will receive up to $1 million to develop a proof of concept over a period of up to 15 months. Phase 3 is procurement, where New South Wales Government agencies who pose their challenges will consider purchasing successful solutions from participants. Not all SMEs will proceed through all stages, as it is a competitive process. As SBIR participants complete their feasibility studies and proof of concepts, the New South Wales Government agency and the SBIR team will work closely with them to provide advice and input and to help them to develop their solutions. This occurs via both formal monthly check-ins and updates to all participants, as well as informal interactions and assistance. At the conclusion of the program, participants are encouraged to take their solutions to other customers and other markets. The challenges have been specifically chosen so they encourage solutions that not only the New South Wales Government would consider procuring, but also solutions that could be commercialised and sold to other customers beyond the New South Wales Government. Applicants must meet the 5 eligibility criteria. For more information about the eligibility criteria and to view the full eligibility criteria, please refer to the 2021 New South Wales SBIR program guidelines, which are available on our website. Applications for feasibility study grants will be evaluated against the following 3 overarching assessment criteria. The technical criterion is worth 40 points, and there are 3 sub-criteria. A, to what extent would the proposed solution address the challenge statement, including the solution requirements? B, is the proposed solution ready to enter the feasibility study stage? And C, how is the proposed solution innovative and superior to what is currently on the market? The commercial criterion is worth 30 points, and there are 3 sub-criteria. A, does the proposed solution have commercial potential? B, given its commercial potential, does the proposed solution deserve public investment? And C, does the application provide a reasonable plan for the next steps towards commercialisation and adoption, including identifying potential barriers and how these will be mitigated? The final overarching criterion is the delivery criterion, which is worth 30 points. And there are 3 sub-criteria. A, does the company and project team have the appropriate skills and experience to carry out the project? B, does the team have access to the equipment, technology, infrastructure, and financial resources necessary to carry out the project? And C, does the application provide a reasonable project plan, including a budget, risk management plan, and performance measures? Each question in the application form states which assessment criterion it is being scored against. Try and respond as directly and succinctly to each question asked. There is a word limit for each question. We also ask applicants to submit some supporting materials, specifically a video presentation no longer than 3 minutes and a project budget. Applicants may also be required to provide profit and loss statements and balance sheets from the last 2 years. Eligible applicants will be assessed by both the New South Wales Government agency that proposed the challenge and an independent panel of experts with experience in business development, commercialisation, venture capital, and entrepreneurship. Applications are now open for the 2021 New South Wales SBIR program. Please read the guidelines before applying. The guidelines set out the program in detail, including the eligibility and assessment criteria, how we assess applications, how we notify applicants and enter into grant agreements with the grantees, how we monitor and evaluate performance, and the responsibilities and expectations in relation to this opportunity. You may wish to also consult the New South Wales SBIR FAQs available on our website. When you're ready to apply, you can download the application form from our website, and once complete, submit the form and supporting documents to the SBIR email address at sbir@chiefscientist.newsouthwales.gov.au. Applications close on Monday the 16th of August. Thank you for your time today. I'll now pass over to the Challenge Agency, who will talk through their challenge for today's webinar. At the end of the webinar, we will answer questions on the SBIR program in general and the specific challenge we are discussing today. Thank you.
Ready? Okay. So thank you everyone for coming along today to the Koala Count Challenge. My name's Nicole and I'm working at the Department of Planning, Industry and Environment. And I'd also like to introduce my colleague Adam, who will be speaking a little bit later on. Okay, next slide. So we have a problem. Koalas are a threatened species, as you may know, and the New South Wales Minister for Energy and Environment set a goal for doubling koala numbers in New South Wales by 2050. So this is our goal, but unfortunately koalas are quite cryptic and notoriously difficult to count. As you can see in the photo, they can be little blobs of grey fluff on a grey tree up really high. So they're not that easy to find and count. The current methods we have are pretty expensive and resource intensive. They're weather specific and they're quite challenging to scale up. And those methods that we've been using for a while are things like spotlighting, scat surveys, that's koala poo, detection dogs, that kind of thing, and more recently acoustic monitoring and drones. So we do have technologies for surveying koalas, but we're after, I guess from this process, innovative technologies to improve what we have. So koalas are rapidly declining, so this is pretty urgent work for us. And the 2019 to 2020 bushfires have likely further impacted this already declining species. So in order to double the population of koalas by 2050, the New South Wales Government has recently announced over 193 million towards this goal. And this funding will build on the achievements of the Koala strategy from 2018 to 21, and that included a statewide cross-tenure koala monitoring framework that our team developed, and you can find that and refer to it online on the Depot website. So we're implementing that now, and what we need is really good information on baselines, really good information on the trends in our koala populations, and then we can use this information to determine how effective our conservation actions are to achieve this outcome of doubling koala numbers or increasing koala numbers over time. Next slide, please. So really our challenge is that we need to be able to rapidly assess koala numbers and populations over a very wide geographical scale across the state. And we need technology that will give us estimates of koala density at all of these sites across the state within a short period of time, 1 or 2 years. And although we have lots of very good methods we could do with technologies that will help us improve the way that we do this. We also need that technology to be not just something remote entirely, because we need to be able to locate koalas at the sites and sample them for things like disease from their scat and genetics from tissue samples. So we need the technology to tell us how many koalas, but also to allow us to get down on the ground at times and do other kinds of surveys. Next slide, please. So what is our goal with this challenge? Well, like I've said, we really need to know whether koala numbers are increasing or decreasing and where this is happening across the state. And so for us, this solution, like we've been saying before, will build on what we have. And we need something that is not just technology, but also the method for applying that technology to our problems. It might be one technology or one specific thing that you have to offer, or it could be a suite of technologies that take the process from beginning to end. And we needed to be able to collect additional information as well, not just koala numbers, but demographics, as I mentioned before, and also general ecosystem data in the area. And it's really important too that the tool can be used for other threatened species of plants and animals across the state, because we have lots of decreasing species, and so we want to be able to, roll this out and adapt it to others other than koalas. The next slide, please. Now, we put our heads together and thought of some of the types of solutions to extend our current technology, but don't feel constrained by this. You might have something completely different that's out of the box that would help us and would, be something that we've never thought of before. So that, I think, is the point of the challenge. But just to give you a little bit more detail, and Adam will fill in some of these gaps later on as well. One of the solutions we thought of was fully autonomous drones that can go about their business on their own, because I guess a lot of the time and cost and effort is the number of people we need out there to do the surveys. So that kind of thing could be really useful for us. Things like long duration flying fixed wing drones, and then not just the components that survey on ground, but we also need other technologies, for example, cloud-based management of all this data, this thermal imagery we've collected from drones, for example. And we have a number of other methods that we'd like to extend. So I mentioned that we use acoustic monitoring for our surveys. That's recording and recognising koala bellows or the sounds that koalas make during breeding season. What would be really helpful, which we don't have right now, is if we could identify individual koalas by their calls. So that would be an extension of the acoustic monitoring method we already use. That would help us to know how many koalas were there, how many individual koalas. And then also things like online real-time communication of numbers and data. So there are a few ideas to get you going, but like we said, please feel free to think outside the box. Next, please. There are lots of things we require. I won't go through all of them. You can have a look at this screen, but I guess the really important ones are that they need to be cost effective, rapid and scalable, that the solutions need to be less labour intensive than we currently have perhaps, so more automation and perhaps AI, and they need to be reliable and useful. As well, they need to align with the New South Wales Koala strategy. So I suggest you all go and check out that page, and also the link to the Koala monitoring framework, which just went up last week. So you can have a look at all of that. Next slide, please. What will success look like? Well, what we really need our final product to be is reliable, robust baseline data and trend data in koala populations across the whole of New South Wales. That doesn't mean we're measuring every spot on New South Wales. We're sampling, which is what scientists do, sampling a bunch of sites that are representative, but it does need to extend across the range of the koala, and evidence that will inform our conservation and management. So that's for koalas, and we'd also like to do that for other flora and fauna that we need to manage across New South Wales. Okay, I'm going to hand over now to Adam, who's going to give us more information on the current and technology we have and what we'd like. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Nicole. We good to go? Getting nods? Great. Hi, everybody. I'm Adam Roth. I'm working with Nicole on monitoring koalas in New South Wales. So we've been working for 3 years now with drones and thermal cameras. I guess I wanted to outline our capacity and what we're doing at the moment. To give you ideas, but also so that you don't design an application that's identical to what we are already delivering in New South Wales. I guess you'll need to know some details about what we're doing so that you can think about if there's any, gaps or anything that you can help with accelerating the work that we're already doing. And also, like Nicole said, we're really open to innovative solutions that aren't things that we're doing already, and that we don't suggest that you come back to us with your own ideas. But I guess, yeah, I wanted to give you some ideas about what we're already doing in this space in New South Wales. So next slide, please. I published a paper with my co-authors from Newcastle University last year, where we compared methods of surveying koalas. So the one on the far left is a traditional spotlighting transect, where people with head torches or very bright spotlights walk at night and look for eye shine of koalas for eye shine. We compared teams of people doing that to the drone flying a lawnmower search pattern, and also another established method that uses scats, so koala droppings, and looking for those in a regular grid to compare the methods. And what we found, this is 3 years ago that we were flying these missions in Port Stephens in New South Wales. And what we found in that research was that the drones found twice as many koalas as these other methods, twice as many as spotlighting. So the spotlighters missed koalas. And also we only needed half the number of people for less than half the time. So what it ended up being is that the drones doubled the number of koalas that we were finding per night, and we were paying less than half the cost. So obviously that got us excited. So we have been developing this further. We did start with very large, expensive drones, large Matrice M200s with all DJI kind of thermal cameras. And we've more recently switched to a smaller DJI drone that has just more recently been released, which is a DJI Mavic 2 Pro Enterprise. Sorry, not Pro, Enterprise Advanced. And that's a $10,000 drone. So that's with all the batteries, all the kit you'll need. It's $10,000. So it's much more affordable. So we've been developing solutions that based on that platform that other people can use. We have 6 of those drones now operating across New South Wales with 6 pilots collecting thermal data. So as an example of a mission that we would do, we would arrive at 2 a.m. at the site, and we would fly this lawnmower pattern and collect, in a high density koala population, we get around 5 koalas per night. And if we're working alongside spotlighters, we'd expect them to get about 2 koalas per night. In low density populations, we'd get 1 or 2 koalas in that kind of, and we'd cover 100 to 200 hectares per night. And then at first light at about 6:30, we'd have another team that would arrive with a vet and with koala catchers, and we'd send them out to the locations. So we've got it already set up so that that we share the locations of these koalas between team members and between pilots, and we have more than one pilot flying, sometimes more than one drone operating simultaneously. So next slide, please. So we've got it to quite, quite sophisticated sort of functional, operational sort of state where we have 6 pilots now operating independently across New South Wales. And this is what it looks like. On the left there, you see the 640 by 520 thermal imagery. And on the right, you see our 4K color camera that's also part of that same sensor. And you can see this is part of our method where we fly back to the koalas that we spotted and get color imagery to make sure that they're actually koalas. Next slide, please. It's a fun job at 6 in the morning to come out and look for these little koalas. It's good. So simultaneously, while we've been working on getting that working as an operational program, which it is now, we've also been working on artificial intelligence and autonomous flight. And what you can see on the right there is how we've been programming our drones to fly into gullies and up hills and follow rivers. And so the drone flies relatively autonomously, although obviously the pilot is there to maintain visual line of sight and to manage the, our CASA obligations. And then on the left, you can see this is just a demo of a stock YOLO version 4 AI object detector. So we have one of those working on our data that we're collecting with our drones, and it's operating, over 90% accuracy at the moment. So I just wanted to give you a sense of what we're already doing, so that you don't replicate it exactly. But that AI component is really important to make sure that there's no, to try and reduce observer error. If you can go to the next slide, please. There's other work in New South Wales that Nicole mentioned. This is Brad Law's work where he's looking at acoustic monitoring of koalas. So that's setting up recording devices in the bush and listening for koala calls, mating calls in their breeding season around September. And Nicole is already running programs that use miniaturized recording devices, very cheap, low cost. It's really an Internet of Things approach. So you have very small sensors, and you can set them up through bush around New South Wales, and it can be collecting audio data that we then process. And as Nicole mentioned, as an example, Brad has a Shazam, like a song, it's like that app where you record a part of a music song and it will tell you the name of the artist. We have that working for koalas, but we aren't able to isolate individual koalas. So that would be an example of where someone could apply machine learning to get results that we're really interested in. Those audio moths, I feel like there's a lot of innovative opportunities with those. They're very low cost. They're small sensors that you can spread out and you can mail them out. So, we're already working in that space, but like I said, there's often, things that you could value add to the projects that we're already doing without having to reinvent something altogether. Next slide, please. This is an example of an Azure sort of a cloud-based platform that Microsoft are working on. This is a case study that they've had working on farms. And this is one of the issues that we're facing in government, is that the amount of data that we collect each year is going up by orders of magnitude every year. It's shocking how much data we're collecting. And similarly with this drone program, you know, we already have terabytes of thermal data that we have a management system for, and we do have some ability to stream it to the cloud. But what we are really after is a way to gather all this audio moth data, all this recording data, all this drone data, any real-time sightings, and have them sort of combined in the cloud in a clever way using some artificial intelligence or some machine learning approaches to get actionable intelligence out of it. What I would really like personally is a dashboard that has real-time, you know, tracking of the data that we're collecting, how many pilots, how many flights, how many audio moths, how many koalas are being sighted, so that people can be engaged and watch those numbers tick over. So it doesn't have to be, you know, in the field necessarily. We're really open to cloud-based solutions to these kind of problems as well. I want to give you guys some time to ask questions. We're certainly open to any questions that you have. Just trying to think if there's anything else that I would have liked to have said. Yeah, I guess just to reiterate, don't exactly replicate the programs that we already have running. Try and find where you can add value, or if you have something that's disruptive or something you think is going to change the game, we're really open to that as well. Don't be afraid to have it as a cloud solution or a web-based solution that you know, helps get our data out there or helps process it in a way that's more efficient than what we're doing at the moment. Thanks very much.
Great, thanks very much to Nico and Adam for running through that brilliant presentation, and to Carlos also for sharing the details on the SBIR program. We are now also joined by Dr. Jen Gabriel and Bob Denham from DeepI also, who will be on hand to answer your questions. So please, if you have any questions, submit them through the Q&A box on the right-hand side of your screen. I think we will begin answering those questions now because we already have a couple of coming in. I will start a first few questions from Peter. It's more about the program, so I'll direct to you, Carlos. So the first two is, will there be an interview process during the application process? And also question two from Peter, will there be interviews with the agencies and the commercialization panels during the feasibility study?
Thanks, Tom, and thank you for the question, Pete. So in response to your first question, there is no interview stage during the application process. However, the SBIR expert panel does have the discretion to interview applicants if necessary. And in response to your second question, yes, during the feasibility study stage, the successful applicants will be able to work with the agencies and commercialisation experts, and that will occur via the Challenge Working Group, which will be responsible for monitoring the progress of the feasibility studies and providing advice and guidance to successful applicants.
Great, thanks, Carlos. And also another two questions from Pete. How will DeepI officers interact with OCSE staff during the assessment panel approach? And also, there's another question from Peter. Will it be possible to work with DeepI and OCSE staff and also the commercialization panel during the feasibility study? Carlos, do you want to grab this question?
Sure. So for your third question around DPIE officers interacting with OCSE staff. So OCSE staff are responsible for managing and administering the SBIR program and the process as a whole. DPIE officers are members of the assessment panels, which will review and assess applications received for the Koala count challenges. And funding recommendations are made by the SBIR expert panel based on their review of applications and also considering the assessment panel's reviews as well. And for your question number 4, I think that's quite similar to question 2. So in essence, yes. So you will, if you're successful, the successful applicants will be working with OCSE staff and the DPIE experts and the commercialization experts as part of the development of the feasibility studies.
Cool. Also, the fifth question from Pete: how much emphasis will be placed on the quality of the video presentation?
Okay, so the application form provides a guide as to what application criteria is considered and the weighting of each criteria. So the purpose of the video is really to provide quick context and a summary of the proposal, and also for the applicant to highlight anything that they'd like to highlight in relation to their solution.
Great, thank you, Carlos. I might just go with you for another question. That is from Tom. And is a non-New South Wales-based SME eligible if they partner with a New South Wales-based university and conduct majority of the R&D activities in the state?
Okay, thanks, Tom. So, so to be eligible, the SME either needs to be headquartered in New South Wales or conduct the majority of business R&D and production operations in New South Wales at present. So, for example, if your company headquarters is in Victoria, but 80% of your staff are based in and work in New South Wales, then you would be eligible to apply for this program. As you've noted, also, if you're successful, the SME needs to commit to conducting the SBIR program-related R&D work in New South Wales. So if you're headquartered outside New South Wales, but at the moment your company conducts the majority of your R&D and production in New South Wales, then we encourage you to apply. And I guess to demonstrate that point in the application form under question C2, just ensure you explain how the solution will deliver benefits to New South Wales, and you can go into then how your company is based here and how you're doing the work here. And also in your project plan, indicate that the activities will be undertaken in New South Wales.
Thanks, Carlos. Another question about eligibility. So from Brad, are universities eligible to apply?
So you'll see from the guidelines, universities are eligible, but only provided that they apply through their appropriate tech transfer or research office, and also provided that the university agrees to form a company incorporated in Australia to enter into a grant agreement. So that company will be responsible for delivering the solution, delivering the feasibility study and the proof of concept process, and also for commercialising the solution at the end of the program. And the purpose of this really is to try and encourage universities to spin out their solutions into independent companies that can develop and grow.
Thanks, Carlos. I think I got a question for the DeepI team. So that's from Ken. Since the challenge also mentions the requirements around distinguishing between sick koala and healthy koalas, will we be able to team up with Koala Vet? And will New South Wales Government provide vet, or do we need to look for the expert ourselves to include in the project team? Adam or Nicole, do you want to grab that question?
So, Nicole, would you like to answer it, or I'll have a go?
I'm happy to if you want, but we can both answer it.
Yeah, I'll give you my version.
Yeah.
So I guess there's a bunch of different koala studies already happening across New South Wales that are part of the New South Wales Koala Monitoring Strategy that Nicole runs. So if you had something that was field-based and you were developing research, doing research and development, we would piggyback you alongside a team that's already doing koala surveys. Obviously, there's a lot of expertise already in a team like that, so you would benefit from being in the field with them. So that's how we would do something as in development. If it got to an operational state later on, then you'd be providing your own team.
Yeah, I agree with Adam. Just one point to mention: when it does get to implementation stage, like Adam said, we'll need a lot of different teams across the state, and so there'd be the need for lots of different vets to be involved. So it wouldn't be something we could provide. It would have to be something that you'd sourced yourself, and it would also need to be people specialised in sampling from koalas.
Thanks, Nico. And next actually 3 questions are very specific for you, Adam. So I will do them to you. So Adam, when you say scale, what do you have in mind in terms of kilometer squares? And also there's another question. So do you cost the drone operator and observer time into your drone cost? And also there's another question. So the objective is statewide. So surely drones only ever cover a tiny fraction of that area?
Yeah, so I'll answer them in reverse order. New South Wales is 800,000 square kilometres. It's a very big area. Obviously, there's no magic solution to finding every koala in New South Wales. Something that you should also look up is Bob's team and my team in the last couple of years completed a statewide map of New South Wales koala habitat. It's called the New South Wales Koala Habitat Information Base. We've put all the existing sightings of koalas together, and we've modelled all the tree species that koalas prefer and modelled their habitat across New South Wales. So that's an application of existing data that covers all of New South Wales. There's certainly opportunities there in that people want to do more work on those at a local scale to see whether koalas are occupying that habitat, because we only mapped the habitat, not the actual animals. So New South Wales is really large. What we tend to do is focus on ARCs, or areas of regional koala significance, which is a much smaller area. So far, while we've been developing this, we've been looking at areas affected by fire, or areas looking at areas affected by disease, or looking at specific research questions in at a smaller scale. So really, one of the challenges that we always face is how to scale up these small-scale field-based solutions and make it data that we can use at a statewide scale. So welcome to the big challenge that we've had over the last few years. So yes, we always cost the drone operator observer. We have a paper that's being published this year with a proper cost analysis and breakdown of the different methods that we've tested so far. So we include all costs. And then finally, okay. I think I've answered those three.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. We have a technical questions asking, is the webinar running? And yes, it is. And if you have a bit technical issues watching the webinar, don't worry, we will record the webinar and upload it to the SBIR website in a few days' time. So let's go to the next question from Jason. So can you confirm that you already have an Azure Cloud solution, or is this part of your wish list? This looks like a question to EIT.
Yep, so we don't have a Azure Cloud. That was an example of a case study that Microsoft have been running on multiple farms that have a lot of sensors. So they've been collecting NDVI, imaging the crops with drones and with satellites, and with pH meters in the soil, with fertilizer counts and weights. So they collect all this data from a farm and then put it in the cloud to process it. So no, we don't have an Azure solution with the drones. At the moment, we're working with Amazon Web Services for running our AI detection on cloud-based data. But certainly, we're interested in good solutions. I know there's a question down the track, down the list here. So no, we don't have a formal system. We have a development system that we're working with Amazon. The next one was how do the different teams share insights from each of the other projects, the acoustic team and drone team? So maybe that's one for Nicole to talk about the New South Wales koala monitoring strategy.
Yeah, sure. So we have just developed over the last 3 years the koala monitoring framework under the strategy, and so the way that works is we collaborate with different koala monitoring teams across the state, and these sites are usually established already or on the back of research projects. So it's very likely that the sites have different methodologies, so they might have acoustic monitoring at some sites, drones at other sites, scat surveys at other sites. And part of my job in coordinating all these projects and looking at trends across the state is to essentially build something that will represent visually to everybody and analyse trends across the state from projects that have different periodicities, different methods, and a range of different aspects to them that don't make them directly comparable. So that's something I'm very interested in. I've talked to a number of different groups about this, and a model would be something like the LPI index, the threatened species index. And so that's the sort of thing I'm working to in the long term, so that all of our partners will be able to contribute. They'll be able to see how their data fits in with other data, how the trends are going at different sites, and then also be able to share insights from different regions and that kind of thing. So that is something I'm interested in as well, that you could think about, and that we're working on over the next few years. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Nico and Adam. We got 2 questions related to data, so I will throw that to you as well. So the first one, will data already collected by the government be made available to successful applicants for the feasibility study? And also there's another question about data. So can we get access to the Koala drone demo data?
Yes, so all the data that we collect eventually becomes open data, and including our AI, for example. There's one about how developed is our AI, so I can answer that now. So we have, I would call it an alpha AI that's operating based on our own detections, where, and it's, like I said, over 90%. It's pretty solid. So we're pretty happy with it, but we're certainly, we're scientists. We're always open to better, anything that improves our process or other people's processes, or that if there's better science out there, we're open to that. Our goal is always to make sure everything is open, but for the time being, while we're conducting our research and publishing papers, any data that we collect is used for that research, and so any use of that data would need to be under a data license agreement. But obviously, for something like this project, we would certainly look to do that. But it would be under a license, you need to use it under a license agreement, and I would have to discuss it with the other researchers that I'm doing this research with. But it's certainly a possibility if that's the right idea.
Cool, thanks, Adam. And also, next question from Suzanne: how developed is the AI technology for sporting koalas?
Yeah, so I mentioned that a little bit. I know that Grant Hamilton has a trained object detector AI model in Queensland at QUT, and we have one as well that's based on YOLO version 4. So the underpinnings are quite similar. I guess what our one is specific to the drone platform that we are encouraging people to use. It's a $10,000 off-the-shelf drone from DJI. So our training and calibration data sets are based on data collected with those drones. So we have that model trained on about 80 koala detections so far, but we are collecting new data all the time. Last week and this week we've been in the field, so it's well developed, but we're open to ideas always.
Great, thanks, Adam. I think I got a couple of questions about the SBIR program, so I'll start with the first one. So how many projects are we expected to be supported for each problem at each stage of the process? Carlos?
So that's kind of at the discretion of the expert panel. So there isn't a particular number. It'll simply be based on the number and quality of applications received.
Thanks. Let's just go with another one from David. So after we got through phase 1 of the program, are we able to access the recorded data you already have to apply ML to give a prediction? if we already have drones and AI technologies, can we provide better solutions and services compared to the current ones? So, Adam,
yeah, that's a philosophical question, and that aligns with what I've been saying. Is that we're scientists, we want the best solution. Yeah, ours has been developed so that we can run it operationally with DeepHi. So something that a big defense contractor with a big fixed wing drone, if we couldn't afford the flight hours of that, then a solution like that may not work for us in the long run because we couldn't afford to operate it or pay contractors to operate it on our behalf. So I guess the example, and it comes back to scale with the drones in particular, there's lots of other applications that don't involve drones in this, that are opportunities in this project. But an example would be the shark spotting program run by the Ripper Group. So the Ripper Group have trained 2,500 pilots, and they've got an academy for drone pilots. And what they do is they train surf lifesaving volunteers. And what that means is that they have a pool up and down the New South Wales East Coast of volunteer pilots that can fly the drone looking for sharks, and it means that they can have operational drone surveys across 34 beaches, because the expensive thing at the end of the day is paying someone to be in the field to operate these drones. The drones themselves are cheap. They're $10,000 and they last for 5 years, and you can run them continuously. It's a very good value. We're getting a handle on the AI and the cloud end of it, but paying pilots is expensive. So the AI is thermal, so we fly at night. We fly at 2 a.m. And till dawn. So it's exclusively thermal, the AI.
Great, thanks, Adam. I got 2 questions from you. The first one, so will the video presentation be a proof of concept demo showcase, more like animation presentation, or an oral presentation with simple PowerPoint slides to just emphasize and talk about the idea points? Should be sufficient? Carlos, do you mind answer that question?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Tom. So the video can be whatever you want it to be. So generally at this stage, SMEs will not yet have developed a prototype of the solution. So an oral presentation to a PowerPoint is perfectly acceptable. But if you do have something that you want to demonstrate, then you're also welcome to do that. So for example, you might want to demonstrate a particular part of the solution that you're already working on. And Tom, sorry, the second question was about, can you repeat that, sorry?
There's another question, so asking, can the grant cover 80% of the project budget?
Thanks, Tom. Yeah, so that's fine. Yep, it can cover 80%. There's actually no requirement for matched funding from the applicant. However, applicants can provide match funding if they wish, and you can indicate that in the project budget as part of your application.
Thanks, Carlos. I got a question for DeepHi team. So question 2 from you. Will the sound of the drones impact the habits of the callers? Like how far we could manage the drone close to the possible hotspot? And some studies, or Adam, you already presented there, is about like 20 to 30 meters far away from the top of the tree.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we when we began this project, we got ethics approval, but the basis of that approval originally was to us to have observers monitoring the koalas and how they responded to the drone. So we've run through that process, and the koalas tend to look up and then forget about it and go back to sleep. So we haven't noticed any noted any negative interactions with the koalas at all. And that's up to so that's good news. So the ethics committee, the DeepHi ethics committee now has been approving projects as long as you address the concerns that the ethics committee has with the use of drones and put something in place. Then they'll approve drone flights. But it's becoming more routine, I suppose, now that we've shown that they don't interact.
Thanks, Carlos. Got another question about the program. So if SMEs are headquartered outside New South Wales but conduct the majority of their operations in the state, and are able to shift all those relevant operations to New South Wales to deliver this project, would that be considered as eligible? Carlos?
Yep. So the SME, if it's not headquartered in New South Wales, yeah, it needs to conduct the majority of business research and development and production operations in New South Wales at present. So you need to kind of either be headquartered here, or in substance, you need to be a New South Wales company. And also, if you are successful, you need to commit to conducting the SBIR program related research and development work in New South Wales.
Thanks, Carlos. I think we got a few questions for the DeFi team. The first one from Ken. How far are you into the hardware development for these sound sensors?
So maybe Nicole can give you more information. So I've just posted a paper in the chat as well from Brad Law about how he uses acoustic devices. So essentially he goes out in the field and sets up lots of acoustic devices that he sets them up, and they record bellows, koala bellows, for a period of time, and then he comes back to the field and collects them all. So the beauty of that is that you get to look for occupancy, whether the koalas are there over a period of time. And you know, koalas move around, so anytime you survey a particular spot, the koalas may just not be there, and then they come back into the area. But with bellows, and because you're leaving it in the field, you tend to get good data because it's there. It's like doing repeat surveys automatically. The sensors that Brad used, you could see the big ones on the tree are quite expensive, but now that if you search for audio moth, I'll put a link in the chat. They're small little chips, and they're much cheaper. Is there anything that you wanted to say about audio moths, Nicole? Audio moths?
Yeah, audio moths they're very helpful. They have a slightly smaller detection range than the bigger song meters, but they're also a lot cheaper. You can deploy a lot more of them. I hadn't thought about developing hardware as such in this project, because there are a lot of very good acoustic devices. I think the value add would be more in the processing of the call data that we get. I think that, I mean, I don't really want to constrain everybody, but there are a lot of companies already providing the devices themselves in a range of costs and sizes and that kind of thing. So yeah, I think the technology for the call analysis would be more useful for us.
Thanks, Nico and Adam. And also a question from Suzanne. I think, Adam, you have already touched on this, but it's great if you can share more information about that. So Suzanne is asking, would a successful grantee be able to utilize DeFi's approval to fly drones to test koala survey techniques?
Yes, if you're doing research and you're looking at koala populations, then yes, you can apply for an ethics approval.
Great. And also a question from Jason, is your AI thermal or RGB based?
Yeah, so because we fly at night, because there's a few reasons that we fly at night, we addressed it a little bit in the paper. Once there's sunlight touching tree leaves, then you know, that's hotter than anything else in the environment, in the ambient environment. So you can't fly essentially once it's daylight. Sometimes if you get good cloud cover early in the morning, you can keep flying, but essentially we only fly at night. We do collect RGB data during the night flights automatically, which we can't turn off, unfortunately. But it's black. There's no light. There's no reflectance, so there's zero data recorded. We do daylight verification flights, so we'll fly a waypoint mission to each of the potential koala detections that we've had. So the drone will fly in a zigzag pattern and hover over each koala to collect RGB and thermal data. But that's of already, you know, detected arboreal thermal objects in the canopy.
Well, thanks so much. I think we will wrap up our Q&A sessions now. Thank you all for attending. If you would like to find more information about the SBIR program, to download the application form and the challenge statements, these are all on the New South Wales SBIR program website. of course, a recording of this webinar will also be available on our website with a transcript of questions and answers in the coming days. If you need to ask any further questions, our contact email address is sbir@chiefscientist.newsouthwales.gov.au, which is on the screen. So thank you again and wishing you all the best.